Jim out of his coat. You guys really did.
Put it back on.
It would be cooler. You guys would have won last night. It would be cooler to have the ball.
What was your message to the team today after the disappointing loss last night, especially losing at 16 points?
Yeah, it was about, being a little better about our focus, what we really have to get after, the purpose of what we're doing out there. Some of our execution offensively is obviously a contributing factor to that, sudden loss of lead and, the last 3 or 4 possessions that we had in the game. So, we talked a little bit about that, and we talked about guys staying inside the structure of what we try to do. We had guys that came out of it a little bit to cover individuals rather than doing what we do.
Is it kind of puzzling to you to have the back-to-back champions and they're still making these kinds of...
No, it's human nature, really it is. And I think our focus gains a great amount of ground with every game we play, but are we going to move ahead of Dallas in that kind of focus as a result of it in the next game?
You've been remarkably well behaved these playoffs so far. I mean, I know you got the fine for talking about the lockout, but at what point, is there some point where you might just make a big donation to charity or decide to have the last few of those?
Well, I hope not, but the call at the end of the game where, not the call, but the decision where we couldn't put a substitute in, I think was misplaced. And that was something that changed kind of the complexity of the last play, and I've never had that happen to me in a ball game before. And right now we're trying to get a ruling from the league about that because I think they misplayed that one.
Do you save some of those kind of barbs? Do you save those for when you need them? I noticed you were restrained.
Well, if there was something that was egregious that I felt like kid was laying all over the top of Kobe and all that kind of stuff, coaches do that, try and gain that kind of thing. And I don't see it. I don't see anything happening in that ball game that has to be brought to the attention, and that's not the way they want us to do it anymore. They want us to send in tape and incidents to show that.
That's far less fun, though.
What was your interpretation of that?
We misplayed it. Our execution was poor.
No, I'm sorry. With your discussion with the league, what did you feel?
A dead ball situation, someone can be substituted in or out in a dead ball situation. Doesn't have to be there for a play.
Do you need the momentum that you haven't been able to generate yet? I mean, is there some point that you hope or something, everything just kind of clicks in? And
I don't know if that's going to happen. It's been my experience that doesn't always happen because teams are very good at this point in the playoffs. They can make adjustments. They leapfrog each other from game to game, and so the losers sometimes have advantage or whatnot. But I don't know if momentum is something that we're looking to gain so we can sweep them in a series, or something like, it's not important. It's important is just to go out and win game number 2.
What you just said, was that as much your experience in Chicago as it was here? Or is that more here?
It's been my experience as a player and as a coach.
How much do you think what's going on with this team, just kind of the struggles you've had at times, is attrition from 4 really long seasons?
Maybe there's some of that, but really, at this time you don't think about that. I mean, I told the players that look at we convert on the play that Kobe drives to the hoop and he's bumped, he makes a pass and it's a turnover. Everybody forgets about this game and says, well, the Lakers held off Dallas at the second half and. It's just a single play or two like that can create it. But what we don't want to do is get mired into that definition. We want to get back to what we do right as a basketball club.
You were talking about last night before the game a little bit about who would guard Dirk and your preference of having Lamar in the half because of the size. Did anything you see last night change your thinking? You go into game 2 thinking a little bit more about Ron on him, a lot more about Ron as an option?
No, I haven't thought about that at all. We really have just been doing what our team defense has to do rather than individual matchups right now. So we'll discuss that tomorrow.
Is it a possibility?
Yes, it is.
What about the purpose of what you're doing? Do you want guys thinking about the big picture and the special opportunity that they probably won't get again in their careers to win a 3rd consecutive championship? Do you want that to serve as an inspiration, or rather have it focusing on the micro?
I think that's been talked about not only within our group, but also it's been emphasized, as a kind of a theme for the year. So to bring it back, as often as it comes back, they don't have to be daily reminded of that.
What does Bynum have to do to be more of a factor?
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought our focus was was so much into the lane, into the inside, that Dallas was congregating around our bigs, and they didn't get some real clean shots. We had some turnovers down there that we didn't want to have. They did a good job, and we didn't really let the ball work for us, as we have that statement to make a lot of times, and let the ball. We were much more interested in just being direct and bold and just throw it in there and power it. We had to be much more subtle and much more counteractive in the team.
Bill Bynum said that he got hit first and wasn't able to respond to that as the game went on. Kobe said that's something that players should be able to respond to, but can that be difficult mentally to change?
I don't know what that means.
So Bynum said that he was getting hit first and he wasn't able to be aggressive as the game went on. Kobe said that's something that during the game you should be able to change your mindset.
Do you mean bumped or?
Hit just metaphorically, like it just bumped or just they were the aggressors basically on him.
Yeah.
And so Kobe said that's something you should switch your mindset.
Well, it can be. I think a lot of it is that they're body on body when he was catching the ball, and they made a point of being that way, and that has to do with our, like I said before, letting the ball work for us a little bit rather than being so direct.
Phil,
Kobe hasn't shot the ball particularly well down the stretch of games lately, and he's turned the ball over. I guess what do you make of it? When I asked him, he said I'm not clutch. And do you have any more of an analytical?
Yeah, I think that Kobe, worked real hard during the course of the game. At the end of the game, they pulled Kidd, put him out there on him, and he's very physical with him, and he can ride him pretty well. What did he shoot? 50%?
Yeah, I'm talking about like at the end of games. I mean, the last 2-3 minutes of games, and not just last night.
I don't remember the shots that he missed last night at the end of the game. I think it was, that really wasn't a factor. So I don't want to discuss that.
Phil, yesterday you guys said that they thought in the third quarter the league was going away, that you guys might have been guilty of just trying to put Dallas away for good in the third quarter.
No, that's possible that we didn't run our offense as well as we could, but they just upped the tempo again, and we had open shots. Fish had an open shot. Ron had a couple open shots. Powell had an open shot. We just didn't make shots that were open
Were
to
they
us.
open shots that you ever saw that they were there, but not necessarily within the confidence?
Yes, there's some of that.
Players said that the bench did some extra work today. Kobe said that you spoke to them. Was there a point of emphasis that you were trying to get across?
Yeah, we've got a few things that they do really well that they couldn't get to last night for various reasons, and we just want to emphasize that.
Phil, I'm not sure if this falls under something you don't want to discuss, but before the game, we were talking a lot about, you were talking about limitations on Kobe and his practice, and you were talking about the desire to get him into it. He took 29 shots, 4 were within 10 feet of the basket. Is there any missing the fact that he's limited still by this angle?
No, I don't think so. I think he measured it. I mean, he went to the basket early in the ball game, got fouled, but for the most part, yeah, he was willing to shoot jump shots, and I think that is a little bit different. He's a guy that goes to the basket a lot, but I don't think it has anything to do with his ankle right now.
I think it was an intellectual judgment that he got wrong.
I think he saw their defense coming over, and respected that and decided to pull up and shoot shots.
Are they packed in there pretty good?
Yeah, they're doing a good job.